Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Peter, and in this video I'll show you how to silence the annoying beeper on the Mavic Mini controller. So here are the tools that you'll need. First of all, strongly recommend a magnetic dish to hold all the screws so you don't lose them. Secondly, Torx. I think this one is 1.5. You need it for a few screws. Then there are some other screws that require a hex screwdriver of 1.5 millimeters. Then you need also a Phillips screwdriver. The smaller the better. You need some tweezers. You need a scalpel knife. I also recommend having like a very tiny screwdriver, like a flat screwdriver. It's useful at some stages of the disassembly. And lastly, which is very critical, a set of these kind of tools that you can buy them like very cheaply on eBay or Amazon, and they are used mainly to like phone disassembly or something. The bigger the set, the better, and they are extremely useful, so definitely don't even think about making this change without having a set like that. Lastly, what you could also use is hot glue gun. I'm using just this cheap Bosch one, but we will need a tiny bit of hot glue, so you need to have something at hand. Alright, so let's start by removing these covers that hold the phone. You don't have to take it off, but I recommend it because it makes things much easier. So we need the Torx for it. I simply remove the two screws here and here on both ends. So now we have these two covers on both sides, being held by a single screw, 1 and 2, and for these screws we need a hex key. Okay, so now let's gently remove the covers on both ends. As you can see, these came off very easily. So now it's time to remove the front plate here. And just a side note, going forward, when I'll be removing all the pieces from the controller, it most probably will be much easier and faster for me to do, because I already disassembled the whole controller once. So please take your time and be very careful when doing it. Okay, so that's off, and I prefer using these metal thingy. I don't know how to call it properly, but anyways, it's much stiffer, so it's easier to pull things, but at the same time you have to be much more careful because you can easily damage the plastic. So here are the connections. I'll also put a detailed picture so you can see everything up close. Okay, so now's the hard part, because we need to take off the front cover. So we start by removing the two screws that are in the corners here. Let me show them up close. So here it is, as you can see. And afterwards, we also have to remove these two JST connectors for the joysticks. Okay, so now it's time to remove these tiny JST collectors. So again, be super gentle about it and use a very small screwdriver of some sort. And just very gently, maybe I'll be able to show you this up close. Just push it up slightly, very gently. And you'll notice that the other one I've been doing, I already damaged it slightly. So again, be super careful about it, because these are not very durable. Alright, that's done. So now the hard part, we need to remove the cover. Yep, that's done. And like I said, again, it was like 10 times easier right now than compared to when I was doing it for the first time. So definitely take your time when doing it. Okay, so the first thing we have to look at here is if you look at up close at this ribbon cable, you see there's a hot glue on it. And the first time, because I already cut it, but basically what I did, I very gently used a scalpel knife and cut it right next to the ribbon cable. So I cut it on both ends. But again, be super careful when doing that. You don't want to damage the ribbon, because otherwise I don't even know where you can find a replacement or anything. And one more thing, this connection here barely holds at all. So when you finish with the mod, make sure to put some extra hot glue on it just to hold it in place, because otherwise you will lose connection to your buttons if it moves or something and gets loose. And during the flight you don't really want that, because this is the power button and you have the return to home, so you probably don't want to have the return to home disconnected. Okay, so first I will remove this ribbon. So just push it up a bit. And now we have 1, 2, and 3 screws to remove. Okay, let me do that. Okay, that's done. So let's gently remove this PCB from here. And it goes together with the USB charging port. And you also have this piece of plastic here through which you put in the USB charging cable. Alright, so the next step is to remove a few screws holding this plastic cover for the battery. So we have one inside here, second one here, and in my case I only have 3. For some reason there's one missing on this end, but in your case make sure you check, because you might have all 4 of them. Alright, the screws are removed. So the plastic cover holds on both ends in here, so it's pushed inside like a rail on one end and the other. You know how well you can see that. And also it holds on these two bottom like standoffs or however you want to call it. Basically, again, very gently we need to push it up and be very careful with the ribbon cable at this stage. Oh yeah, I forgot. There is a double-sided tape in the back of the battery, so it will make the whole thing a bit more difficult. Before I go any further, you might notice there's the battery connector JST plug here. The thing is, in my case, there's so much hot glue on it, I was completely unable to remove it. And I cut bits and pieces with the scalpel knife from it, but I didn't want to short any cables, and therefore I decided not to remove it at all. So if in your case it's possible to remove the battery, definitely do it at this stage. I just wasn't able to, and I didn't want to risk to make any damage to the board. So I decided just to move going forward very carefully without unplugging the battery. Okay. So make sure that the ribbon cable goes through this cutout here, and obviously don't damage it. So here on the other side is double-sided tape that holds the battery, and that the first time you remove it, it's a bit painful. So yeah, but it's just a small piece of the tape, so it should be fine if you put a bit of force onto it. Anyways, let me show you what are the relevant bits on this end. First of all, we have this connector here, JST connector for the gimbal control. Then we have two antennas plugged in, and I will put a picture, but make sure you memorize which one connects where, because they have to be connected exactly the same way going forward. And apart from that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 screws that have to be removed to take out the main PCB from inside the controller. Like I said, be very, very careful. And oh, and one more thing, because the battery is still connected, get a screwdriver that's magnetic and take out the screws straight away, because you don't want to touch any pins. As the battery is connected, you could potentially shorten something on the board, so there's always a risk. I mean, it's my case. Hopefully you will be able to just unplug the battery so you won't have the hassle. First the connector. Okay, that's done. Now the antennas. Okay, should go out right now. And it does. Just watch out for the antenna. And there we have it. All the internals of the Mavic Mini RC controller are out. And if we move it the other way around, here is this annoying beeper that drives everybody mad. Now, what can you do with it? There's a bunch of options. You can either completely remove it, but then the controller will be silent. I wouldn't recommend that. Second thing is you can put somewhere in here, you can put an extra resistor to limit the voltage that goes to the beeper, so that would make it quieter. But that's also not something I want to be bothered with. So what I'll do, I'll just cover it with duct tape, and that should do the job. Alright, so I have a few pieces of the duct tape, and let's cover the damn thing. Okay, first I'll put one on the top. Don't know how. The thing is, I didn't test it, so I don't know how well that would work. Okay, so I don't know. I think I'll just put another piece around it. We'll see how that will work. So let's do it. Yeah, so it is fully covered in duct tape. Will that help much? No idea, but I guess we'll all learn. Okay, I guess the only thing right now is, unfortunately, I have to put it all back together and see, well, first of all, if I didn't kill the controller, and secondly, if it's quieter. So let's do that. Okay, so now the big moment, because I have all the buttons and everything in place, and I really, really hope it works. Okay, it's still audible, but not as loud as it used to be. And it's making this beeping noise because the joysticks are unplugged, so it's just an error. But it works. It didn't die. Great, let's put it back together. Okay, so I'm done for now. I'll just put the handles, the phone holders later on, but yeah, I don't need it right now. Let's see what's the sound. And I actually noticed, see, hear the noise here? I think I damaged something. So yeah, that's not great. And that's one of the things I forgot to mention before, but I'm afraid you do lose your warranty if you do that. And of course, I take no responsibility for any damages you will do if you were to replicate my steps. I'm actually quite annoyed with that. I'll see if that's possible to fix it somehow later on. Okay, let's check the noise. Okay, I can still hear it, but it's uncomparable to what it was before. That is just so much better. Okay. Thanks for watching. Bye.